Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. Good evening. This is Christine. I'm the organizer for this exhibition and the founder and director of Yunyi Art Association. So first of all, I want to thank everybody for coming here tonight to check out this amazing illustration works. I just want to say thank you to my friends, my family, and the people who have been supporting Yunyi and artwork in general in Macau and overseas. This series is very special to me personally. It's just this is our first international exhibition. So we did it the first time last year together with Cristina Dias. She's our curator in Portugal and also in Macau. And we did this the first year, and the result came out very unexpectedly because we see a lot of talented. We know that they are talented, but then when you put the words together, I'm talking about a local artist. So when you put the words together with overseas artists, you make the comparison, and you see how different they are. We live in Macau, but we really don't understand Macau that much in that art level. So through this exhibition, I personally learned a lot from the artists, from where they're coming from, and where are these crazy ideas come from. So for me, it's like a Christmas whenever I receive those works, because I open it, and each one of them just looks so different and so happy for me. So this year, we did it together with Louis. She's our curator from the US side, so we had the pleasure of inviting 10 very special artists from the West Coast, together with 10 local artists from Macau. Again, completely different, completely a new Christmas for me and for us. We had an opening in San Francisco, and it was like the most fun event opening that we had. We see the vibe, and it's so different. Everybody just come together in the community. We even have crazy visitor. They used to live in Macau. They heard about this event, and they just drop by and say hi and tell us stories about and how they come across and how they love art. So today is our Macau opening. I cannot do it without the Hui Gunya Foundation, the team behind it. They're more than helpful. They're really supporting step by step. And I hope that we can do it again next year. Next year, this exhibition is going to take place in Barcelona, Spain, and together with the Macau artists. So I hope that you will support us continuously and see many new works and upcoming events. So right now, I'm going to pass the mic to Louis. She's going to talk about what is the illustration scene like in the West Coast, US. So here you go.
Hi, thank you for being here. 大家歡迎. My family is from Macau, so that's how I have this connection. But this is my first time back in about 14 years, so it's very exciting for me to be here and to merge my arts practice with my discovering my heritage to Macau. So this is a really important exhibit to me and a wonderful opportunity. So thank you to Christine and to the foundation for hosting the exhibit. Tonight I'm going to be talking about the illustration scene in the West Coast in the States, and also what may be seen as more of an alternative route for illustration. Although it's used in commercial practices for advertising and in print and digital media, I've come across it in kind of an unconventional way, where I've met a lot of fellow artists, and we're kind of trying to make it work in whatever ways that we can do it ourselves. So I'll be speaking to that shortly, and I prepared a presentation to explain how it all came to be. So if you'd all join me in the other room, and then we can begin the presentation. Thank you very much. Welcome to our exhibit. Here we are, and this is the second leg of our exhibit. It originated in San Francisco, California. We opened our exhibit in August of this last year, and the theme of the show is if I were in San Francisco or if I were in Macau. So we brought together 19 artists based on the west coast of the States and also here in Macau to interpret this theme and together create a new visual language together. Each artist has a very particular and graphic style, and together exploring this theme, they were able to bridge the two cultures and put together this wonderfully cohesive exhibit. So if you got a chance to look around before we began this talk, you would see that each artist has a very specific style, very, very fresh, very unique, but all together, everything looks great together. So this was a very exciting an awesome exhibit to put together with Christine. So I want to start off with talking about what is illustration. So illustration to me, the simplest way to explain it is it's a narrative art. So it's art that tells a story. Along with storytelling, it can also convey ideas, emotions, feelings, and other abstract concepts that might not be able to be interpreted as easily as, like, say, a photograph could. So it's very imaginative and it's very personal in this way. What's really cool about illustration, in my opinion, is that it's so accessible. It's not just seen in gallery settings or museum settings, but you see it everywhere in advertising, in comic books, food packaging. You know, I see it everywhere. And where I'm based, there's this culture of DIY or do-it-yourself. More people are being able to produce art and experience art because it's everywhere. I'll be speaking about zines or self-published books shortly, but it's in other alternative media. Here are some examples of some of the illustration work of some of the West Coast artists. This is Max Stadnick's work, his lithographs. These are a couple of my pieces. So these are just to give you an idea of the different ways that illustration can form. This is Jeff Chung. He's a very exciting artist. He does these really large paintings, floor to ceiling, and he shows regularly in San Francisco. Some works by Leah Labrador. She's a wonderful painter. Sana Khan, she did the two watercolors up at the front, very lifelike. And these are very disciplined artists, but they all have a very unique take on what they see in the world. So here are some examples of some alternative ways that illustration is proliferated and distributed. So on the left here are some patches that I've printed, and a lot of artists will learn screen printing so they can print their own patches and their own imagery on patches. To the right are some zines. So these are, self-published art books that people will put out in limited runs. So it's a more affordable way for people to distribute media. So rather than having to have a gallery setting to show their work, people will get together with small presses and do zines. And these are really cool because they're small, you could take them in a backpack, they're distributed everywhere. So the power of the multiple is really important to distributing the art. Here are some more zines that people will put together. This is an example. So another great thing that I think about illustration is that there's no rule to what it can be about. There's no hard and fast rule about illustration. So this is a particular zine about the potato, which is kind of silly, but why not, which I love. And speaking of presses that put together zines, 3 of our featured artists run Tiny Splendor. They are a publishing press based in Berkeley and Los Angeles, California. So they have a risograph printer and they're able to produce multiples of books and also artist prints. So here's the following are some photographs from the alternative art book events that are taking place in the States. This is a particular event that was at the Vincent Price Museum in Los Angeles earlier this year. They usually have this set up. It's a zine pop-up, so people can bring out a table, set out their publications, and anyone can come take a look at them. So it's on the go, it's mobile. You don't need a lot to set up, so in this way, a lot of people can access it at once. Here's another example of an art book fair. So these are events that happen all over the country and is becoming more and more common. In fact, Tiny Splendor was in Japan earlier this year doing an event just like this. So onward, a little bit about our exhibition. These are the artists that are featured, and we have some of them who are based in Macau here tonight, which is wonderful. I'm so glad to meet you all and connect this body of work to the local art scene here in Macau. A little bit about our shows. Christine invited me to collaborate and put together the show earlier this year, and we've been working really hard getting this body of work here. So I'm so excited that we're finally here and that you're all here to share it with us. Thank you for all being here. And I've got some photographs of our San Francisco exhibit also. So the different ways that the artists reacted to the theme could be seen in a few groupings. So food, that's a really important thing for any culture. So you can see that our artists connected to the theme with food, showing the different ways that you can connect to a culture. And this is one of the most important ones. Very close to my heart. This is the only thing that I've been doing since I've been here in Macau is eating, which is always so wonderful. There's nothing quite like sitting around a table with all your family and just sharing some food. So this is something that was very important to artists based both in Macau and San Francisco. Some more food-related art. Culinary art and visual art have that in common, bridging the cultures. Other artists used landscapes and landmarks of the two cities and reimagined them. Often with a surrealist twist, so there are a lot of fantasy elements that are shown here. But looking around, you can see everyone has a very specific and really strong style. Here are some photos from our exhibition in San Francisco. Christine talked about it. It was a great night. It was a short run, but we had over 80 people at the opening reception. It was kind of like a house party, and you can kind of see that we have this alternative scene. So Little Lodge, we're lucky to work with them and have them host the exhibit. They're an alternative arts gallery in the Inner Sunset in San Francisco, and we had a great time having the show there. We also had Tiny Splendor do a pop-up of zines, so we've collaborated with them in the past. Many of the artists featured have also printed zines with Tiny Splendor, so this was a great way to drive home illustration as an accessible media. And here are some of the artists based on the West Coast and also the curators and hosts of our San Francisco run. So I'm going to end the talk talking a little bit about myself. So I'm an artist and printmaker based in Santa Cruz, California. I'm trained in printmaking, so instead of doing just one painting, I'll be doing multiples, and that's really informed a lot of my work, whereas I'm not as precious with each piece, and I can just distribute it. So I think that a lot of the artists, at least based on the West Coast, are under this same school of influence, where it's like, why not? Let's make a bunch of it, get it out there. I work in the art materials industry, so that's how I mostly make my living, is educating artists about how to create art and what tools and media to use. And some of my special interests in my own art practice are creating toys, retro graphic design, and also just making art for everyone. So the toy building is important to me because for children, people think that art is something for the rich, the wealthy, the educated adults. And I think that it can be for anyone. So for me, the toy building is another way that I can incorporate art into, for people, children, Here are some more examples of my toy building. So this is a way, it's a concentration game. It's about the same size as a cell phone. So in a world today where everyone's on their phone, you know, having an analog alternative is very helpful, keeping children connected to their motor skills. Here's some installations that I've done in the past of pinball games. And a couple write-ups that have gone into print about my work. I show regularly in San Francisco and Santa Cruz. And this is a local publication's bio about me and my world of these characters that I create. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the work that I created for this exhibit. I had mentioned that my family comes from Macau, so this is a really important exhibit for me, and also for me to kind of come back and reconnect to my lineage. So I kind of imagine this as a map of navigating my home and my homeland. I used a lot of reference photos that my brother had taken earlier this year when he visited. I'm lucky to have my family here supporting me, my extended family who I haven't seen since I was very young. And this was a very, very special trip for me. You know, growing up in the past, I visited Macau a couple times, didn't really remember it very well, but reconnecting now, it feels so important and special to me now. There's nothing quite like being here as an adult and realizing that this is where my family's from, this is my home. So this is to explain some of the work that you'll see on the wall. And to wrap up, I want to talk again about why illustration is important. So there's unlimited possibility. There are no rules about what it can be. It's different from, say, fine art, oil painting, where you know there are these kind of traditional rules where you have to see them in a museum or a gallery. It can be anything. Accessibility is something that is important to me. So in this case, illustrations everywhere, you know, not just at the gallery or the museum. And this allows for people who may not consider themselves to be art consumers or creators to be able to experience it and also make it. You know, it allows people's narratives to be elevated to art because, you know, they have a platform to create it and distribute it. And in particular, I think that this was a wonderful medium for our exhibit, for all of our artists to explore this theme and bridge the two cultures. So please enjoy the exhibit. If you'd like to learn more about me, I have my website up here, and here's Uni's website if you want to learn more about their cultural events. Thank you again for coming. Thank you to Christine for inviting me to participate in this show and organize it together. Thank you to the foundation for hosting the exhibit and the Macau artists for being in this show with me. Thank you very much.
So just one more last thing that I want to say, that most of the artwork here are for sale. So please spread the word. This show runs until the end of this month. So we have plenty of time to tell our friends to come check it out and support our artists that all over the world, and especially the local artists as well. Thank you.